that man his money. Pay him. Pay that man his money.
I'm your huckleberry.
Every year I set this league up. Every year, and I never win. This was the year.
It's Sleepers, Keepers, and Lines.
Well, I believe I'll take part of that wager.
And welcome in, if I can get it out of my mouth there, Fredo, to Sleepers, Keepers, and Lines right here on EBSN Online. I'm Jake Sofranko, joined by Fredo, of course, here. He's over there in Albuquerque. Same parking lot, not making much progress, are you, Fredo?
Not really, no.
Yeah, that's all right. It's a good spot for you, though.
The Duke City is a good place.
The Duke City. I didn't know that was the nickname.
The Duke City.
All right.
I got that from The Goods.
The Goods.
The Goods.
Okay.
Great movie.
Very good. Let's see. Last week, you had your first Fredo pick.
First Fredo pick.
And tell us about it. We winner?
We were a winner. Tampa Bay made it a little more dicey than I would have liked at the end, but there's a reason these lines are the way they are. These guys are very good at what they do. I believe
They're not building all those hotels out in the desert for no reason. That's for sure.
Did not build those hotels. Tampa Bay, I believe, was a plus 1.5 dog on the road at Miami. Miami, not a good team as a favorite at home. Miami's just not a very good team.
Period. Yes, I think that's the way to put it.
Yeah, but it was a straight-up win. Didn't need the points.
Very good. And you got a new one for us this week.
We do have a new one this week.
Tonight, I believe, right?
I believe it's tonight.
All right, we'll check that out later in the show. Big show today. We're going to have Mike Young back on from CG Technology. He'll be giving us the Vegas report, and we'll talk a little bit about the Urban Meyer saga and update it a week later and where it's going to go. Also now DJ Durkin. There's something going on with the Big Ten East. I don't know exactly what it is between Michigan State, Maryland. There's a lot of problems going on there, and we'll see what Mike thinks as far as who's going to keep their jobs and who's going to lose their jobs. And then we'll also talk a little bit of some NFL AFC North with Mike as well. So looking forward to that. We'll have that at the bottom of the hour. We're going to start off with a bunch of fantasy football here. Of course, that's half of our show, so we got to do that. Last week we had some names for you that we didn't get them all in that we wanted to, so we got a couple more at the end of the show. We'll get those with. We're also going to do a segment called Going Deep. Some guys that are late round sleepers that you're going to want to jump on. That are going to be fantasy gold to your fantasy team as we go through here. Also today, top rules for drafting. There are some faux pas out there that you do not want to commit. If you're a new fantasy player, pay attention. These are simple, easy things that you should never, ever do or should always do. Just depends on how I want to put it. As you can see, Wookie's not with us today. That is because he is in Watkins Glen at a Fish concert. Yeah. And what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and try to Skype Wookie in. He's going to try to get some hippies to tell you who they're going to pick first overall. We'll see if they even know a football player's name. It should be interesting to see what the hippies at the Fish concert have to say about fantasy football and sports gambling.
I'm going on record and saying we get at least one LeBron James.
You know what? If it were real football, I think I might take LeBron James number one.
Maybe, yeah.
He was a heck of a football player at St. V. And then what else? We're going to do the basic things, some fantasy team names. We're going to come through all that, and hopefully we'll make you a little bit smarter as this show goes on. Okay, Fred, let's start off with some injury updates. And I've kind of categorized these in three different ways. I've got the, oh shit, I'm screwed. The deep breath, Thank goodness it was only that. Or it's, we're going to have to be able to continue to move forward. So, Fred, what do you got as far as the injuries go? I know I saw Big Ben went out with a concussion protocol.
Yeah, he's not going to be playing this week at Green Bay.
That's something you want to consider when you're drafting him, because concussions will eventually.
They can turn a week on the injury list into 4 or 5 or more weeks very quickly.
Okay, so why don't you give me the oh shit injuries?
Well, the oh shit injuries right now begin, and I'm going to say pretty well begin and end right now, because fortunately no huge injuries other than Darius Geis, running back for Washington, out for the year, tore his ACL.
What a shame, too. High expectations for him in Washington. I know they got Samaje Perine there still. Fat Rob's there. Who else is going to be in the mix there for some carries and some touches?
Actually, those two, and I believe Chris Thompson is also the third down back. If you're looking at either Fat Rob or Perine, go with Perine. Fat Rob's had too many injury problems the last couple of years. And Perine, while he hasn't really proven himself as a feature back, has been able to stay healthy.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's the thing to do. I think Perine, obviously, at the end of last year, was the favorable back. He had some good games. We'll see what Washington ends up doing this year. For all you Skins fans, enjoy Jay Gruden's last year. Okay, what else you got? You got any deep breaths? Like, man, thank God that wasn't. I know I got one. Cameron Meredith. You know, he put out that kind of cryptic tweet last week or yesterday, and today he's back at practice, full stream, and I'll talk a little bit about him in the Going Deep segment. But anybody else on that deep breaths?
Deep breath. I guess you would say Dalvin Cook. He was held out of the opener with Denver. They're likely just coddling him until week 1. There's no reason to think he's not going to be ready.
Okay.
He's coming back from that ACL injuries.
Gotcha on that. Any dams? Any damn, that guy's going to miss 4 weeks?
Yeah, there's a couple of dams. Rashard Penny. A lot of people were looking at him as being the guy to take over in Seattle. He broke his middle finger and it required surgery. Now, that's going to be a little bit important for a running back because you got to hold on to the ball and can't do that with a cast.
That's tough to do. You can tackle with a cast.
Yes, you can tackle with a cast. So, if you're going to draft Rashard Penny, I would think he's probably going to miss at least a couple of weeks. Chris Carson is going to be your handcuff for him.
Okay.
Yeah. Couple other ones just real quick.
Sure.
Alshon Jeffrey. We know he had shoulder surgery back in February, it was, right after the Super Bowl. He's still on the PUP list. So you want to watch that because if he's on the PUP list week 1, he's going to be missing at least 7 weeks. We've also got Terrell Pryor.
Shocker.
A little bit of a deep one there. He just revealed he broke his ankle in May.
Yeah, and Todd Bowles came out and was not happy with TP sharing too much information with the media on his injury. So that's something to keep an eye on as well.
And not just the ankle, but because he's trying to get back in game shape, his hip's bothering him trying to get up to speed.
Of course it is. Man, that was good money the Browns didn't waste on him, I guess. But that's always been his issue. Can he stay healthy? And, he's only guaranteed $1 million this year in his $3 million contract. He may be cut if things don't work out well for him. You might be able to get him pretty cheap if you're the Browns. You want to bring him back. Okay, great. So those are some of the injury updates. We'll get to some more in a little bit here. We want to hear from you. This show is for you. We want to give you the best advice. We want to answer your questions. Comment at EBSN Online. That's either on the Facebook page or our Twitter feed. And then also on Twitter, follow us at Sleep Keep Lines. That's Sleep Keep Lines on Twitter. And on Facebook, give us a follow and a like at Facebook. It's at Sleepers Keepers in Lines on Facebook. So let us know where you're watching from. If you got any questions for us, let us know who you're taking in your deep rounds. Who's the player? Who's your fantasy gold that you're picking up late in your fantasy drafts? You can also give us a call at 866-217-1966. And like I said, we'll have Mike Young here in about 15, 20 minutes. But right now, do we got him?
Yeah, we got him.
Producer Woot.
Yeah, we got him.
Producer Woot says we have Wookie live from Watkins Glen and the Hippie Fish Concert.
Yes.
Hey, I got you. Hey, Wookie, what's happening?
Okay, so over the last hour when we last talked, a lot more people have gotten here. A lot of people are still drinking. But I got a few questions. I don't have anybody with me, but I got some questions from some people.
Oh, we got to find a hippie, man.
Well, I mean, here, hold on. I can show you
Yeah.
Now.
Let's see what's going on.
There's some walking. There's the campground. There's some more camping. There's 12 other campgrounds here, but this is the one we're closest to.
Get over by those trucks that are
right there. I'm at the racetrack.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. But I did get a really good question from one of them. He's in a 14-team half-point PPR league, and he got the 14th pick. So he's going 14-15, and my opinion was if you can get Keenan Allen, go Keenan Allen and Jarvis Landry there. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I know. I think at that point you're probably gone by all the top 7 to 8 running backs. So if you can load up on a couple high-end wide receivers, I think that's a good way to go, especially in a half-point PPR. Has anyone, when you've posed the question who you would take number 1 overall, selected LeBron James as their first player? Do we have any crazy answers yet? That's what I want. I don't care about who they're taking in there for serious.
Trust me, there's no real opinions here. The best one was the drummer of Fish. John Fishman should be the number 1 overall pick.
Nice.
The other one was the mounted cop on the horse whose horse keeps taking dumps right in front of the campsite. That was who. The one guy said that. Would
the Fish draft just be the longest drawn out draft of all time?
Oh yeah,
just kind of
so much jamming. They'd just be jamming.
Yes, that's what I mean.
The first pick would take 28 minutes.
Right.
The second pick would be 22.
We'd wake up tomorrow morning and it still wouldn't be over.
Man, no, absolutely. You could take a nap, come back. Yeah. It'd be good. It's going to be a long weekend here for sure, and I got a shower this morning because they were clean. I don't know if that's going to happen again this weekend. So,
what else you got for us from there?
Man, it's like a giant party, and the thing is there's only maybe 25% of the people are here already. So it's just going to get more and more crazy. There was a state of emergency up here this week. It all got flooded out. So it's going to be something, man. I don't know how much I can say about it,
All right. Here's what we're going to do, Wookie. I'm going to give you a task. We're going to call you back, or you're going to call us back here at 2:50.
You call me, and that way I'll scramble.
Okay, 2:50. I need you to have some people with you. I need some hippie picks. I need to know who they're taking as their first kicker.
All right, I'm
stuff like that.
I'll call me back and I'll be right on it.
All right, we're gonna move on to a couple other fancy things. We'll check back in with Wookie. Thanks for checking in. We'll get back to you, Wookie, here in a little bit.
All right, cool. Thanks.
So that was disappointing.
A little bit, yeah.
I mean, it was nice of them to Skype in and got to see the racetrack. But I mean, I need to see some fish crazies. That's why I mean, you're up there. Let's get some people on camera there with you. We'll see if Wookie can get back to that. All right. We got a few minutes before we're going to get to Mike Young. Let's go ahead and let's do our going deep stuff, Fredo.
Go right ahead.
Kick
it off, or do you want to start?
Well, I guess I will, since I've already kind of said who my first one is, and that's Cameron Meredith. He's obviously playing for the New Orleans Saints this year, oft injured wide receiver for the Chicago Bears. But when we saw him healthy for the Bears with crappy quarterbacks, he was pretty good. You give him Drew Brees, and you have Michael Thomas have to take off the number 1 cornerback, and you play him in the slot. I mean, to me, if you can get this guy in the 10th, 11th, 12th round, he's definitely worth putting on your bench as a wide receiver option. So the first one for me in going deep is Cameron Meredith. I'm glad he's healthy because he's the guy that I'm targeting in the late rounds as a wide receiver, especially in PPR leagues. If he's going to end up being the slot receiver, he's going to see a lot of touches on those third down conversions. So Cameron Meredith, my first one on going deep. Fredo in Albuquerque.
I'm going to go with Calvin Ridley. It's kind of a no-brainer, at least for me. And I would have sworn that somebody going to an offense like Atlanta's, taking over the wide receiver 2 position, would be drafted a little higher. As it is, he's going to be seeing a lot of single coverage with Julio Jones on the other side and Mohamed Sanu still holding down the wide receiver 3 position. So Calvin Ridley, 9th round. He's probably not going to be there in the 10th round, or at least that's what I've experienced in the mock drafts that I've participated in. But yeah, we'll go ahead with another one. This one is a little on the deep side. He's not even listed in a lot of the fantasy guides as anything, because I believe he just signed with New England on the 3rd of August, is Eric Decker. We saw what he could do in Denver when he had Peyton Manning throwing to him. I think he's going to be doing very well in New England with Tom Brady throwing to him. You're probably going to see him available in the 12th, 13th rounds. But if he develops a connection with Brady, he's going to be, I think he's a 908, 7-8 guy.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really, really good one there. I guess I'll go with the one that is maybe a little bit more acceptable than my surprise one. And Will Fuller, he another guy that had, some injury issues, but I mean, he has 13 touchdowns in the last 2 years. It's a guy that's played pretty much part-time. You get Deshaun Watson back now. And, Hopkins is going to take a lot of pressure off of him. He's a home run threat. He's going to, he might not get 7 catches, but if he gets 3 catches, he may end up with 100 yards and a touchdown. So maybe not the greatest for PPR, maybe more of a standard play. But even in PPR, I think that he's a guy that you could compare to, like, the production, Allen Robinson, something. I mean, Allen Robinson's going 5th round, 6th round. I mean, geez, oh man, the guy was terrible last year.
If the league gives you a bonus for big plays, he's somebody you want to keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and back to Allen Robinson, too. You got Mitchell Trubisky throwing you the ball. I don't understand the love affair with Allen Robinson all of a sudden on this bounce back. Corey Davis is another guy that, kind of is being drafted in those 5th rounds. And I think you can get the same type of production out of Will Fuller that you would get out of Corey Davis, too. So that's my next one.
I'm going to stay in Houston, actually.
Okay. We love the AFC South.
We do. Deonta Foreman. He had some injury problems.
Hook 'em horns.
He's still coming back from his Achilles injury, and he is on the PUP list. But we saw last year with Lamar Miller, he doesn't react well when he's given we'll say, an expanded role in the offense. Somebody's going to get those goal line carries. I think it's going to end up being Foreman.
Okay. No, I agree. I think that we've seen the best of Lamar Miller. He's not going to, yes, exactly. He's not going to get any better. And, I think they took Freeman in the 2nd or 3rd round last year. So they count on him, and he's a good back. So that's a good one. All right. Everybody plug your nose for this one. Matthew Stafford going pretty high, as far as quarterbacks. Matt Ryan going pretty high. I got a guy that is going to put up those same types of numbers as those two, and you're going to hate it, but his name's Blake Bortles, okay? And I banged on him last week. I said, the Jaguars are going to regress a little bit, and everybody's high on the Jaguars again. And I said, you do know that Blake Bortles is still your quarterback, right? He's going to throw some picks, but here's the thing, you're going to get him in the 12th round. You might not even have to draft him, at this point.
Exactly.
And at the end of the year, he was one of the best quarterbacks to have on your team in the last 4 games of the season. He had that 65-yard run against the Cardinals, and that's the other thing that you can factor in as well, is that around the goal line, he's an option to score on his legs, which is 6 points instead of your 4 points for the passing touchdown. And also the yards that you're gaining, a point per 10. So I think Blake Bortles is, and this will go into some of the rules that we have, for drafting later on. I take quarterbacks at the end. I don't waste my time with Tom Brady. It's just the difference in the value from Tom Brady to Phillip Rivers is so small that I'm not going to waste a draft pick in the first 4 rounds on Tom Brady. You can have him. I'll take my chances with Phillip Rivers and Blake Bortles and load up on running backs and wide receivers, and then I'll kick your ass every week. So that's the way I would go at quarterback. Find some value late, and Blake Bortles is definitely a guy that you want to think about, especially with his weapons now with Dede Westbrook, Marquise Lee, Austin Seferius-Jenkins. I don't even know if I said his name right, but regardless, the tight end, I did? Okay, the tight end from the Jets last year who broke out, and Leonard Fournette, of course. So,
and Ted Ginn.
And Ted Ginn's in New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Yep.
Okay.
Bortles. Yep. No problem. But yeah, no, I think that he's got weapons around him now. I think that he's getting better each year in and year out, and Jacksonville is committed to him now. There was talk of whether you're going to re-sign him. They just re-signed him to a big deal, or maybe not a big deal, but a mediocre type deal, a fair deal. And I think that he's going to have a decent season again.
I've got a couple that we can burn through real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
These two are guys you won't even have to draft. You can just wait until the end of the preseason and see where they sit on the depth chart of their respective teams. The first one, Tavon Austin. Everybody seemed to love him with the Rams when they were in St. Louis. I personally hated him, was a St. Louis fan. I said, what are we doing drafting this guy? What are we trading up to draft this guy for? Regardless, he's with the Cowboys now. I think he takes over the safety valve role from Mark Whitten, who retired this past offseason. He's going to take some handoffs on reverses and things like that. Yes, he's a dicey week-to-week pick, but he has some potential against less than defensive teams. The other one is Jamon Moore. If you saw him in college, and you may not have, he only played at Missouri.
Right.
He's a big, athletic receiver. He's 6'4". He's 205 pounds, I think, is what they've got him listed at. He does really well with deep balls. His biggest problem is that he makes the hard catches look routine, and the routine catches look hard.
That's you're right, and that's not the most favorable thing to be able to do, but
I'd be willing to say that if you got Aaron Rodgers throwing to me, I should be able to get a few touchdowns.
I think that's a good point. You got anybody else in there?
Not really. No. Just that. If you want another one, Troy Fumagalli.
God bless you.
With Denver. He was actually on our injury list. He sat out last Saturday's opener with a sports hernia. I think with his size and hands combo, he can be a great red zone threat.
All right, that's good stuff. So there you go. There's some guys that you can grab late in the rounds and be able to feel comfortable that you're making a good pick with some high upside from some guys that are a little bit down in the draft as far as who is going in front of them and the production and the value that you're going to get. Everything that we talk about, whether that's sports gambling or that's fantasy football, which is sports gambling, but it's about value. Can you get the right value? And if you can, then you make the move. And if there's not enough value, then you just pass, and that's it. Okay, let's go ahead. I think we got Mike Young on now. Mike Young from CG Technologies in Las Vegas, Nevada. Mike, you there? Nope. Hey, how's it going, my man? Oh, there. Hold on one second, Mike. I gotta get you on a microphone here. You there now?
I got you.
There we go.
How you doing, man?
All right. It's going good, man. Glad to have you back on.
Good to be here.
Awesome. Okay, so since we last talked, some new stuff has come out in the Urban Meyer investigation, not from the university, but from some reports and also actually Courtney's mom and Zach's mom. So I was a little surprised when I looked today, and the odds still are fairly consistent with what they were 2 weeks ago or a week ago. Minus 220 on the no, or I mean on the yes on getting fired, and still getting a good plus money for not getting fired. It feels like free money to me, no?
Well, what's come out in the last week is feels like a lot of noise, and from an outside perspective, I don't think it has any bearing on the investigation. The main points being, what did Urban Meyer know? When did he know it? And should he have kept Zach Smith on his staff as long as he did, with the knowledge that he had? So that's what the university is trying to parse out now, and maybe trying to find language in the contract that would allow them to move on from Urban Meyer. I will expect this to be wrapped up in the next week or so. They set a 14-day limit last Monday, and so we're coming up on that. And as far as the odds go, though, yeah, you're right. Nothing has changed. Again, I'll stress that these are offshore because Vegas does not put out odds on the job status of coaches or personnel of any kind. So I've noticed a couple different offshore. You mentioned the plus money on the no. That is one offshore book. Another one has, and various books have various ways of putting out this information. One that I saw today that was just updated was the first college football coach to be fired, in which case Urban Meyer is sitting at plus 400 there right now, and DJ Durkin from Maryland, another Big Ten team, is minus 115. A different offshore book also put out odds on the first head coach to be fired, and it was Urban Meyer and DJ Durkin, both at plus 400. I guess this specific book doesn't feel like that any coach will be fired. Of course, this was released 4 days ago, so it might have shifted at that specific book. But it feels like with DJ Durkin that if you are going to place a bet on that specific line, that DJ Durkin is more likely to be fired given direct allegations that he was physically, maybe not physically abusing his players, but not physically taking care of his players in a way in which Urban Meyer was not implicated on his end. So I think it would make more sense to install DJ Durkin as the favorite to be fired, in which he is at one offshore book at minus 115.
Yeah, I mean, in that situation, they've already fired the trainer. There's been the rumors of the same thing that Kevin Wilson lost his job at Indiana for. Maybe not even physically abusing, but verbally abusing, and maybe not worrying about their personal safety. I mean, when you got a player that dies on you, that's a pretty serious thing. And the fact that Maryland has already come out and said that they're liable, that we're going to have to take care of this, makes you think that DJ Durkin may just not be long for that job up in College Station.
Absolutely agree with that. And as far as Maryland's digging into their Big Ten championship odds, not that we thought they were going to be a contender in the Big Ten anyway, but just to give you an indication of where it's gone since ESPN published the article, the line on the Texas game in Week 1 has moved twice. Now, on the day that ESPN published its article, it jumped from 10 to 11.5, opened at 10 here at CG Technology, to 11.5, and is now sitting at 13. So Texas, a very clear favorite in a neutral site game at that. And that's why they'll be played at FedEx Field and in Maryland. So not somewhat neutral, but a bigger stadium. You expect to see a lot of Texas fans there. And then as far as the Big Ten championship odds, like I mentioned, Maryland opened up at 35-1. They're now 100-1. And I don't think that's necessarily indicative of the coaching situation there. More so, maybe just stabilizing with the market, because a team like Rutgers, which opened at 40-1, is now 500-1 at CG, and Illinois, which opened at 75-1, is 500-1 as well, which
Poor
I think
Lovey.
is more surprising that Illinois is as bad as they are. They play in the Big Ten West, and I thought their championship odds would be much better than you would see out of Rutgers and Maryland. But that's where we stand right now in terms of the Big Ten. Ohio State's odds haven't really changed much since the Urban Meyer situation has been unfolding, and they opened at 6-5. They're now 13-10 to win the Big Ten.
Mike, I'm curious what the Big Ten East odds for the next school to have an investigation are. You got Michigan State, Penn State, Ohio State, Maryland. I mean, geez, oh man, it's getting out of control here with stuff that requires investigations for these teams. Okay, so let's move off of the college a little bit and get back into the pros. I know you got some notes here for Week 1 action. What kind of knowledge can you drop on these degenerates?
Well, a near 5-figure liability on the Rams here at CG Technology. Their Week 1 matchup against the Raiders. And a lot of people out here love the Rams.
And why not?
Both in terms of their Week 1 matchup, like I said, against Oakland, and then just in general in terms of winning the NFC West and potentially going to Super Bowl, and their over-under for the season, which is currently set at digging around here, is currently set at 10, and it was jumped from 9.5 at the start of the season. So, but it's just in terms of Week 1, like I said, a near five-figure liability in the Rams here at CG. Potentially a reaction to the Khalil Mack trade rumors, which I don't get, but I don't think he would account for a full 1.5. He's only a linebacker.
Right.
A quarterback potentially could account for that sort of line movement. But like I said, the Rams are such a high-profile team in a big market, obviously had a surprising amount of success last season, still a young team, so it's not that much of a surprise that the public is banking on them to repeat last year's success. And then another Week 1 matchup, the opener on Thursday night, the Falcons and Eagles, mid 4-figure liability on the Falcons here at CG. The line is held stable at Philly -4 since opening, so there's been a significant amount of public money on Atlanta here, but not enough to signal a line shift. And I think a lot of that has to do with what we've seen historically with defending champs opening up at home. They're 11-6-1 against the spread since 2000. Last year, the Patriots lost and got blown out at home by the Chiefs, but I think that notwithstanding, home teams usually dominate these Thursday night openers.
I'm curious to where the books are most exposed on these NFL futures. Is there any teams that they're really hoping does not work out the way a lot of bettors are hoping it will?
Well, a team that you guys are familiar with, and it's getting a lot of love at the moment, is the Browns. Laugh if you want. But,
no, that was dog barking.
Being on Hard Knocks certainly it allows the public to get more insight to what the Browns are doing. Maybe the public sees that Tyrod Taylor, not only what they did in the Week 1 opener, which was a nationally televised game on NFL Network, so a lot of exposure there, but on Hard Knocks, seeing what Tyrod Taylor has done and how his leadership has really affected the culture, maybe not in the wide receiver room, but elsewhere, permeating around the team. And Baker Mayfield, how well he's done both in camp and his preseason opener. The Browns' win total opened up at 4.5, is now moved to 5, with some enticing underjuice, I think, here at CG Technology. But those odds will keep rising. Public loves the Browns no matter what season it is, but especially this year, given the fact that they're on Hard Knocks and they have an entirely different quarterback room there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, the You Bet pool of the week is 5.5 wins right now, and I've seen that at -170 on the over from where I grabbed that on Bovada today. So 66% right now think the Browns will win more than 5.5 games. And I kind of tend to agree with them in a league that is based on parity, and they want every team to be 8-8, and just the advantages you have with scheduling and all that sort of stuff. For the Browns to not be at this point at least a couple of these seasons since 99 at 8 wins or more, it's almost harder to do that in the NFL than to be mediocre. So,
it absolutely is. It really defies logic that the Browns have been this bad, this consistently bad for this long. And somehow Hugh Jackson has turned out to be, I don't want to be too harsh given what he's going through, but he's turned out to be the coach that has most affected the win-loss totals by the end of the season. There was an article on ESPN.com during the offseason earlier, which talked about how head coaches affect the win-loss totals for the season, and said, and this was a Smart Football, if you know that guy. But he said that the Browns, Hugh Jackson cost the Browns 3 wins this past season, and you guys watch the Browns on a weekly basis, or certainly Jake does.
That's all?
It's believable.
Just
yeah,
3?
That's all. It may be more.
It could have been 3.
If you ask any Browns fan out there.
Right. No, absolutely. One thing that's always interesting to me, and I want to get it from someone in the industry that's working. And again, we're talking with Mike Young of CG Technology out in Las Vegas, and it's the sharps versus the squares, the pros versus the Joes, whatever you want to call them, the professional bettors versus the public bettors. Talk a little bit about how money moves the line, both by professionals and then the public as well, and how as a bettor, with these great apps like Sports Insights and Action and CG Technology, of course, how you should read into the percentages when you see some line movement, and how you interpret that, I guess.
Yeah, it's one of the bigger misunderstandings as far as the general public, not even just the general betting public, but the public overall. Mm-hmm. What the books are trying to do is just minimize risk. That's the overall goal. And what the public in general may misinterpret what Vegas does when they release odds as saying, oh, well, they believe in this team. They think this team is going to win. That's not necessarily the case. They're just trying to get action on both sides of the line. And so I'll pull an example for tonight's preseason games. You're looking at the Jets in Washington. It's a nationally televised game on ESPN, starting at 5 o'clock, locally 8 o'clock out there on the East Coast. The line is flipped. Washington opened up as a 1.5 favorite, and now the Jets are favored by a point here, which isn't a huge move, and it's practically a pick'em game. But given what the public has seen in terms of both last week, the Jets, and Sam Darnold, how impressive he was in his debut with the Jets, and given the fact that we probably won't see a lot of Alex Smith, if at all, in tonight's game, the public and certainly the sharps ahead of the public interpreted those things and put a lot of their money on the Jets side, which in turn the books have noticed and have moved the line accordingly. So you'll see there's a lot of different factors that go into it. Both the public seeing certain trends, both on the field and off the field. And it's just, like I said, the main goal is for the books to minimize risk. And they're not necessarily thinking about who's going to win or who the public ahead of time, who the public is going to favor. But just reacting to what you see, both in terms of big money bettors, known bettors, and who they may lean on if the book feels like the public may go with that as well. So there's a lot of different factors that go into it, but like I said, the main thing is the minimization of risk in terms of trying not to lose as much money as possible. and gain money inevitably, hopefully.
Right. That's the goal for for both sides, I guess.
Yeah, of course.
Get you out of here on this. Do you have an NFL future that you particularly like?
I talked last week about the Colts, and in terms of their ability to win both the division. So I'm clicking back here. You see the Colts; they're installed as a 6-1 in the AFC South, which
there's some value there.
Has not moved since the opening. We've seen since the opening that Andrew Luck is healthy and has played in a preseason game now. I really like their not necessarily their divisional odds, because that is a tough division with the Jaguars and all the talent they have on the defensive side of the ball. The Titans, who made the playoffs last year, of course, and the Texans getting J.J. Watt and Deshaun Watson back. Maybe not necessarily the best play is to put them on the division, but certainly when I see their win totals, I tend to lean on the over at 6.5. It's moved from 6 since opening, so you can see the books already seeing a lot of money on the Colts over to adjust the line there, with some decent juice on the under, but not necessarily enticing enough to necessarily go under 6.5 there. Maybe another team, since I already mentioned the Colts last week, I was pretty surprised to see the Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals, I know they had a lot of change in terms of the head coaching position and at the quarterback spot. Though I think Sam Bradford, again, a huge caveat being when he's healthy, is a very reliable quarterback now. He's getting up there in age and, of course, is rarely healthy. But learning from Sam Bradford, a guy like Josh Rosen, who I think fell a little further than most people had predicted in the NFL draft, and I think is better talent than some people that were taken ahead of him, specifically Josh Allen. But he's taken a lot of heat this week from Jalen Ramsey. I don't need to pile on there. But Cardinals right now, and CG Technology was the first book to release odds on teams that will make the playoffs. It's not a very common thing that people tend to bet on, but I think it's interesting enough. You look at the Cardinals right now, to not make the playoffs, they are a minus 10,000. Or minus 1,000. Take that back. Sorry. So 10-1.
Right.
To not make the playoffs. Plus 650 to make the playoffs.
It's an interesting way of doing it.
That, for now, is the longest odds of any team to make the postseason. So, given the value there, I might lean on the Cardinals. Again, it's a tough division with the Rams that I mentioned earlier. A lot of money on the Rams, both in Week 1 and overall, both to win the Super Bowl and to win the division. And that's not the only team out there that you would be concerned about. The Niners with Jimmy Garoppolo and ending the year strongly as they did last year. So maybe not necessarily leaning on the Cardinals to make the playoffs, but given that they're the longest odds, I mean, comparison's sake, the Browns are minus 500 to not make the playoffs, plus 400 to make the playoffs. So a pretty significant difference. And so I might lean on the Cardinals. Again, their win total is at 6.5, just like the Colts that I mentioned, with some decent overjuice. So, those two teams, and picking one in each conference for consistency's sake.
There you go.
The Cardinals in the West, and the NFC, and the to get over 6.5, and then the Colts to get over 6.5 from the AFC.
All right, very good. Go ahead and get your plugs in, Mike.
Yeah, I'm working out here on behalf of CG Technology as a integrity and betting analyst. And CG Technology operates 8 sports books in the Vegas area on the Strip. You guys know these: the Venetian, the Palazzo, Cosmopolitan, Hard Rock, and Tropicana. Just off the Strip at the Palms Casino, which they just a new building there sprouted up, and I was just there yesterday. It's a beautiful sports book. And then just off the Strip locally, if you're out here looking for a less expensive trip, Silverton Casino and the M Resort as well.
Wow, that's great. Where can people follow you?
You can find me at myoung_, 5 underscores if you want to type that out.
That's beautiful.
Directly on your keyboard.
A lot of Mike
but,
Youngs.
You should be able to find me at myoung_, just searching me. A lot of M Youngs out there.
Yes.
All
right, buddy.
A lot of different underscores.
Thank you. I'm jealous as always of you being out there, and try to check in next week for the Vegas report and see what you got then.
All right, sounds good, Jake. It's getting crazy here as we get closer to football season. So good to talk with you again.
It's beautiful, isn't it? All right, Mike. Thank you very much. Talk to you next time.
Take care.
All right, bye. That was Mike Young of CG Technology. Great stuff as always from the betting markets. Fredo, let's go ahead and do your pick of the week here.
All right.
You got your pick? Let's go ahead and do that.
Our pick of the week, or my pick of the week, we have the New England Patriots -3.5 over the Philadelphia Eagles. It's going to be an interesting game at the very least because we're going to have a rematch of the Super Bowl. I got to this because let me get the paper here. In the last 5 years, since 2013, New England is 29-14-2 against the spread as a home favorite. That's a win percentage or a cover percentage of 67.4. So more than 2/3 of the time, they cover the home spread. So pretty safe pick there. On the other side of that, Philadelphia is only 12-11-0 against the spread as a road dog. So they're a 50-50 pick. But as Mike said, these Thursday games are dominated by the home team. A few other factors to think about. Tom Brady is expected to play in this game probably potentially the whole first half, according to ESPN. Kenny Britt, Sony Michel will not play. Alshon Jeffrey is out for the Eagles. Nick Foles is questionable. And if Nick Foles is questionable and Wentz is not cleared for contact, you've got Nate Sudfeld, Joe Callahan, and Christian Hackenberg slinging the ball for Philadelphia.
That's ugly.
Yeah. Again, a trio of ugly quarterbacks.
All right, so Fredo's pick. There it is, 3.5. You're laying them this week. All right. New England generally in the preseason too, they're a tough read because you just never know what Bill Belichick.
Vanilla.
Yeah,
everybody's so vanilla.
It's crazy.
And I guess I should point out those against the spread numbers are for the regular season because nobody keeps it for preseason.
Right. No, for sure. Couple shout outs. My dad, Bill Sofranko. Come on, man. Your daddy's a hippie. Yeah, well, I didn't say anything negative about hippies. Just that they don't know a ton about football usually. Thanks for watching. And I see Taylor's out there watching too. Thank you, Taylor, for tuning in. Okay. Let's do a couple. Do we have Mike back yet? Woot.
You know what? I had him and then I lost him.
All right. Just let me know when we're ready with him. Yeah, no problem. Let me know when they're there. I want to go through a couple of these team names again, and you pulled a couple other ones.
A couple that I found very amusing.
Yeah, go ahead with yours. So I did too. I got one that I just want to get out there that is, to me, just makes me laugh out loud every time I hear it.
I have a pretty dark sense of humor, and I really enjoyed this one. JPP Firework and Prosthetic Emporium. Yeah, so... I'm sure there's some Giants fans cussing me right now.
That's
and
good.
MVP maybe if he's listening.
What else? What else you got? What else you got?
I got Teenage Mutant Ninja Bortles.
Okay. I've seen that one.
And Wentz twice, 3 times a lady.
Ah, nice. Little music reference there.
Yeah.
1.21 J.J. Watts. If you're a Back to the Future fan, you'll get that one, right?
That's right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, that's both of our wheelhouses, isn't it? The Golden Tate Warriors.
Oh, yeah.
That's not a bad one either. And my favorite one that I've seen so far, if you got a great team name, just come on in and leave a comment. I want to hear the best team names in your leagues. Leave a comment on our Facebook page, at EBSN Online, at Sleepers, Keepers, and Lines, on Twitter, at EBSN Online, and at Sleep Keep Lines, because Twitter doesn't give me enough characters to put the full name in there. Stacy King says locks. Locks and locks and locks for weeks. The Fredo lock. That's good. All right, so my favorite team name so far that I've seen, and it's a homage to the Rams.
It's a great one.
Jacking Goff to girly picks. Oh, man. How good is that? Jacking Goff to girly picks. Drop the mic time.
Wow, can you beat that one?
Yeah, drop the mic. I'm not sure you beat that one.
Yeah. Okay, any other housekeeping we got to get to here, Fred? Oh, we want to do some Know Your League rules real quick?
Yes, know your league rules. Well, everybody knows there's general rules. Everybody knows these.
Right.
Kickers in the last round. Don't draft a defense until the last 3 rounds. And watch your bye. Watch your bye weeks.
Those are the basics. So if you didn't know those rules, then you really want to pay attention to these next set of rules because those are just basic rules. You don't want to do that. You will not help your fantasy football team's chances of winning your league by doing any of those things. First rule for you when you draft, Fredo.
Know your league's rules.
Aha.
Talk to the committee. Text, pester, message, whatever you have to do. Get the scoring format and any other house rules. The league that I play in with my brother-in-law and his friends, you have a limit of 5 wide receivers. So you better be certain about your wide receivers. Also, we play IDPs, which is individual defensive players. So that can make things a little dicey too.
Yep, that's a good one. My personal rule, first 4 wide receivers and running backs. That's it. You cannot take a quarterback, a tight end. I don't care if you love Rob Gronkowski. Don't take him. Take 4 wide receivers and your first 4 picks should be nothing but running backs and wide receivers, and especially heavy on running backs.
I'm sorry. Can I?
No, go ahead.
Tack something on.
Yeah.
That? If you draft a running back with your first pick, and then when your pick comes around the next 3 times, don't be afraid to take 3 wide receivers because trying to reach for a running back when you have better wide receivers available to you is a mistake.
No, I totally agree. I mean, take a look at what you have to play each week. You know, what your flex options are, if you can play a tight end in flex, or if you got to play an extra running back, all that sort of stuff. The bottom line is in the NFL, there's about 8 bell cows left. You know, that are going to play 3 downs at running back. Everything else is by committee. Know whether or not you're getting points for PPR or standard as well. Of course, that goes back to the league rules. But to me, running backs are so valuable, and there just aren't enough of them. So make sure you get plenty of running backs. And then only roster 1 tight end, 1 defense, 1 kicker, and 1 quarterback if that's all you have to start each week. Again, running backs and wide receivers will win you your league. Kickers by the name of, I don't know, who's the best kicker in the league anymore? I don't even know because I could care less.
Zerline.
Yeah, Zerline.
Actually, Zerline's
maybe Tucker from Baltimore. Because again, it goes to the league rules again, though. You know, if you get extra points for 50-plus yard field goals, you might want to take Justin Tucker over Zerline. You know, well, actually, Zerline's kicked a lot of big ones too. But yeah, so I think that obviously, kickers in defenses, those should be your last 2 picks every time.
Yeah.
You have no clue who's going to be good at this point.
No.
So
you really don't.
Right. What do you got?
I've got know the people in your league. And by that, I mean I have, again, my brother-in-law's league. I know that by the end of the 3rd round, there's going to be 4 quarterbacks taken. We're probably going to see Brady, Rodgers, maybe Breeze, because people get locked in on somebody, and maybe somebody else taken before the end of the 3rd round. And it's almost like the NFL draft. Somebody drafts a quarterback, and then there's a run on them.
Okay. No, I think those are all good ones. And then also, of course, pay attention to the schedule late in the season. You don't want to be up against the New England Patriots, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Pittsburgh Steelers in the last 3 games of the year, especially if you're planning on making the playoffs. Look at who your playoff matches are. That's a huge one. And I like taking guys that are on winning teams if I can help it. It's one thing to take a running back that's going to get a ton of carries on a bad team, or a wide receiver who's going to get high volume because they're going to be coming back every time. But guys that are on winning teams are going to be engaged the entire season, and you can kind of take the risk out of is this guy going to be sat down, or is he going to give a crap? That's the sort of stuff I worry about a little bit when I'm looking at that. Corey Boyd asks, what round would you draft a quarterback in a 2-quarterback league? If you haven't answered that already, and we haven't, Corey, that's a great question. Thanks for watching. And thanks, Adam, also for tuning in. I see him on there as well. What do you think, Fred? 2-quarterback league, where do you take your first quarterback? Because that's a different animal.
Depending on what the other positions, which I presume 2 running wide receivers, a flex tight end, that I still probably don't take my first one until now. Maybe I take 2 back-to-back. Say a Phillip Rivers and a Blake Bortles. That's not a terrible 14, 15 round.
Yeah,
if you're at the beginning or end of one round or the other.
Right, and I'm with you. I think that still, again, running backs and wide receivers are so valuable that you got 32 starting quarterbacks to play from, and the difference between Blake Bortles and Matthew Stafford, as I talked about a little bit, isn't so great that you can't find value picks before you have to take that quarterback. So that's a great question. Thanks a lot, Corey. Any other housekeeping? Make sure you're checking us out at EBSN Online, all our great programming here from the Beer Monger Sessions to producer Woot. That's his show. And on Tuesday afternoons, and you've got everything Buckeye Nation, Buckeye Live with George Lehner. There's just so much good programming. We're going to be introducing an Ohio High School Athletic Association show here next Wednesday from Max and Irma's in Westerville, Ohio. And if you're watching us in Arkansas, then you don't know where that's at, and just disregard that. But for everybody here in Central Ohio, where we're broadcasting live from, it should be a lot of fun to do that. And a lot of other great programming as we continue on as we gear up for the football season. Any last words there, Fredo?
One last rule.
Yeah.
Trust your studs. You drafted them high for a reason.
Yep.
Don't sit them.
And don't give up on them too early.
Yeah.
That's one. You can catch us, of course, on Facebook Live and Twitter Periscope, and that's at EBSN Online, at Sleep Keep Lines on Twitter, at Sleepers Keepers Lines on Facebook. You can also check out our YouTube channel, ebsnonline.com, coming soon with, we're under construction on that. It's going to be a great website. And then where to listen to us. If you can't watch us, you want to grab us in the car on your Wi-Fi, and they're building Wi-Fi into cars now. It's crazy how things are changing.
I bought my car thinking, this is absolutely everything I need. Nope, I need Wi-Fi now.
Right. Yeah, I needed to start flying. No? All right.
I passed about 5 wrecks on the way over here. People can't drive in the rain. We don't need them flying.
But if you do want to catch us on your Bluetooth in your car, you can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, and, of course, ebsnonline.com. Great show today. Thanks again to Mike Young from CG Technology. It was a lot of fun. Wookie checking in from Watkins Glen in the Fish concert. Not a lot of signal up in Watkins Glen, and we weren't able to get him back, but I'm sure we'll have some stories next week from him and all the craziness that went on there as well. But we'll be back next week. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Please help us out. Give us a follow, a comment, your critique. I don't care if it's positive or negative. I'd like to hear it. Until next week, I'm Jake. And say goodnight, Fredo.
Good night, Fredo.